Okay, last movie we were kind of just rigging the bones and getting them all hooked together and dealing with some layering and doing some initial adjustments. In this movie, I just want to show you constraints because constraints can be helpful, especially with rotation when you're dealing with a character like this. Now, for a walk cycle, it's not that big of a deal. And to be honest, I probably would have configured the constraints at the master symbol level, right, before I duplicated it for the walk cycle. But let me just show you what I'm talking about. So again, I'm just at scene 1, so I'm going to double click, so I'm looking at the goon here. And if I click on one of these bones, let me zoom in so we can look at it. And I want it over to the side. I'm going to go ahead and press F10 so you guys can see this. In properties for this object, notice that it says, hey, IK bone, and it goes ahead and just gives you a number. By the way, you can press the up arrow to cycle up through the bones or the down arrow to cycle through them that way. But what I want to do here is just deal with rotation and have a constraint. So when I do that, you can kind of see here there's a little rotation constraint that's showing up. And if I just click and drag these guys, you can see that angle changes a little bit. So I'm going to just straighten this out so that the knee won't go beyond like a straight leg. And then let's rotate this the other way. There we go. And if I zoom back out, and then grab this leg, notice that it comes up and it gets fixed. It won't go beyond that point. So we can't have it hyperextend. So if you were going to make a character that was going to do a lot of movement, this is what's kind of, you're setting it up so that inverse kinematics doesn't do something goofy with it, doesn't make it go in a direction where you don't want it to go. So it can be kind of a handy tool to set up. For our walk cycles, you don't need to worry about setting up a constraint. It's probably going to be fine. But if we come up here and do this for this arm, let me click on this one. Again, it works a little bit better if I can zoom in so you can see. So here's that arm. Let's turn on constraint. You can kind of see the rotation position there. Let me just fiddle around with this a little bit. So I'm just looking at these angles right there. And if I click and drag that, see, now it kind of locks there. And if I bring it around this way, it locks there. So that's what a constraint can give you. It can give you more of a realistic constraint on the movement of the character. Again, for the walk cycle here, it's not important. I just want to show it to you in case you're at a point where you want to try experimenting with it. Now you can also constrain position as you're working with bones, but I have to tell you that my understanding of joint translation and being able to constrain that is poor at best. So whenever I've tried constraining X and Y translation, I've had bad luck with it. And I'm sure it's just because of my own ineptitude with this. But the thing that I really notice helps is constraining rotation. So again, you don't really need it for doing a walk cycle unless your character's just in a full sprint or something where there's going to be lots of joint movement. But I just want you to understand how constraints work. So when you turn yours in, it doesn't matter if they're set up for constraints or not. But you might experiment with it, especially if you're planning on using a character with bones for some of the other animation work we're doing.